I guess as a nail tech who's walking that line of luxury, your prices are not supposed to be accessible. Your prices are never designed in a way to meet the economy's needs, because that's what luxury is. And I don't see freaking Louis Vuitton trying to lower the prices of their bags to meet economy. In fact, at times at which economy becomes harder, they raise their prices. I feel like a radio show host, and this is extremely strange, but it's fine. We love new feelings here at McCart Pro. Hi, everybody. My name is Sally, and I'm the co-founder of McCart Pro. And welcome to the other side of the nail desk, our newest podcast, where we talk about anything from business, things that I did wrong, all the way to just behind the scenes stuff, and then whatever, nobody asked for my opinion, but I'm going to give it anyway on this podcast. Today, we're going to talk about pricing and prices to set for beginner nail techs and also advanced nail techs. I feel like every time I talk about this topic, I get two different sides of the comment section, and it's just goes to war. You have one side of the comment section where people are like, fuck yeah, you go girl, charge your worth. And then you get the other side of the comments that are like, do you guys know what economy we're living in right now? And you want to charge these types of prices? This is why I go to salons. And then on the other side, also don't forget you get the Europeans. Listen, I love the Europeans. Some of my best friends are Europeans, but then the Europeans come out and be like, well, anything over $40 or I guess 40 euros is just absolutely robbery. And I'm just here going oh my gosh, this is so stressful. And I can imagine for any beginner nail tech looking at these comment section, even if you set out your day, you woke up this morning and you're like, my Frenchies look great, my cuticles look good, and I'm going to start putting together a price list, and I'm going to start charging customers for not free, but at least over, let's just say $45, let's say. As a beginner nail tech, you start seeing those comments and you're like, okay, never mind, fuck it. We're not charging anything. I'm just going to be free for the rest of my life, and we're going back to finding a different job. So I love talking about pricing now because I think it's such a crucial part and experience of running your own business. And I do it too at McCart Pro. When we set out there and we started pricing our products anywhere from the Flawless Pro Drill to our cover acrylic powders, you're always going to get the bitches that are saying things like, why do you guys think you should charging me these prices? This is absolute robbery. And then you really stop one day and you're like, you know what? Screw you. If you have a problem with my prices, don't buy from it. And fuck it, So it's the same goes as a nail tech as well. When you are a beginner nail tech who you set out your journey to work for yourself, okay? I'm not talking about salons. Salons are definitely a whole different game, just because when you are in a public salon, you should have, slightly more, I would say, open mass consumer prices because you're supposed to be and you market yourself as accessible, right? But if you are a beginner nail tech who's aiming for that kind of luxury independent, you work in a studio or you work from home, your whole business model is not set out to be accessible, because if you were supposed to be accessible, you would just go to a nail salon, right? But as a independent nail tech who walks that kind of line of luxury, your prices are not things that people appreciate. It's giving me it's giving me a dry throat just talking about this. I feel like I'm going to get a lot of hate for talking about prices today. But I feel as a beginner nail tech as a nail tech who's walking that line of luxury, your prices are not supposed to be accessible. Your prices are never designed in a way to meet the economy's needs, because that's what luxury is. And I don't see freaking Louis Vuitton trying to lower the prices of their bags to meet economy. In fact, at times at which economy becomes harder, they raise their prices. And I feel that is just the scope, and that is just the realm, and it comes with the territory of becoming a independent nail tech where your whole business model is designed to be not scalable and not accessible. As an independent nail tech, you're one freaking nail tech. You are one person. And you're also not opening your shop up on the main street of your city. You're tucked away in a little salon, possibly even working from your home. Your business model was never supposed to be scalable. You can't take 10 clients in a day. So therefore you have to kind of make do and make the best out of, let's say, 3 to 4 clients. So I think, I definitely hear a lot of people talking about this, and I absolutely love that statement where they say, the goal is not to get 10 clients who each of them pay you $50. a set. The goal is to work on, let's say, 3 clients and each of them pay you $250. But obviously, whenever we talk about these prices and then the dollar and the numbers come out, like people get really upset at me. So I'm going to address this from my perspective on what I think as a beginner nail tech you should think about when you're first setting out your prices. And then as you gradually, your skills and your techniques and your products also advance, how you should potentially think about adjusting your prices as well. But real quick, I want to share a quick story about one of the most awkward moments in my life. I think as a nail tech, like everyone goes through that really strange period of time where you start transitioning from doing your mom and your sister's nail to like starting to take friends and then eventually like friends of friends. And then at one point you start taking strangers. So I was also in that moment where at one point, I wanted to take more pictures. I wanted to be able to display more pictures of the work that I do and make them, accessible on my Instagram. So there's only so many cousins that you can like borrow to do their nails on a Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m., right? Because everybody else has, a 9 to 5 job. So I wanted to go out there and look for some models. And so I posted up these posters. And at that time, like I had literally no idea the concept and the relationship between a nail tech and a model and what that should look like. So like my initial and default setting as someone who's been in business for all these years in a corporate setting was like, okay, if I need to hire models, I need to pay models, right? Okay, I'm going to find the model and I'm going to pay for the model to come in. I'm going to pay her an hourly rate. And then I'm also going to do her nails and then I, just make sure that she has everything that she needs. And this was like my initial understanding of how like I should be getting models. Obviously, now that I think back to it, like it's pretty stupid. But at that point, like that's exactly what I knew. So anyway, I brought in these models. I called up 3 of them. I think they were introduced by like friends of friends. And then we agreed on a rate. I know. And like, this moment that I'm like talking about it out loud, I know that so many of you guys are sitting out there going, excuse me. Obviously it did not like ring in my head at that time. Okay. So I think I paid each model like an hourly rate. It couldn't have been over like $50 an hour. I'm sure it was less than that. And then I also did their nails for free. And then after the nails were done, I took pictures of the nails and I told them like, I hope you guys liked the nails, and if you like them, definitely recommend them to your friends. They obviously love their sets, and then they left. And then I sat there thinking to myself, like, okay, like, I think I did a great job today, so I'm going to use those pictures. I'm going to put it on my website. I'm going to put it on my Instagram. Everything's going to be amazing. And then much, much later on, I think that was when I started to like, and it was like obviously after like COVID and like things started to open up again. So I booked myself a class. And this class was very expensive. It was taught by a, celebrity nail tech. And I think she charged, it was like $800 for a 2-day class. It came with like a starter kit. It was fine. And then I went to this class. And then I'm sitting here listening to all these girls talk about, things that they struggled with, things that they found to be helpful. And then one of the girls was like, yeah, like, for my models, like I'll usually let them like, they can pick the length, but in terms of like the design. So they're talking about kind of like, your freestyle sets, the models pick the length and then the design is up to the nail tech. And then she goes, yeah. And then I just give them a discount of like 20% off of what the pricing should have been. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself like, oh my God, I'm a fucking idiot. And I stopped this girl. I was like, wait, just to make sure I understand what you're saying. You not only do you get the models to come to your house to like, get their nails done and you get pictures of it. You don't pay them. They pay you. And she's like, look at me. She's like, well, yeah, definitely. Because, I also have cost of service. I have the cost of my products. And I think it was from that moment on, I started to realize like, damn, like I was approaching this whole concept like completely wrong. And I need to get my things into place. I need to rethink about my strategy. So anyway, after that entire situation, I think it really made me think about my business model, how I need to be able to grow my clientele from there. And I think that was also when I started to like turn down, some friends of friends and also friends and sometimes cousins who are like, hey, are you free? Like, I have a date coming up or I have something coming up. And I think at that moment was when I really started to like slow down and be like, okay, I think it's time for me to start charging people, because I think she's right. Like, I have cost of service, I have cost of myself, and I also have the cost of products. And then eventually from there, I think what ended up happening and why I ended up doing a price sheet model, which I'll kind of explain that as well today. The reason why I think I went into that price sheet model was because when you start transitioning yourself out of that like friend area, cousins, family members, to taking on like proper clients that are on your books and they have to pay a deposit and they have to pay you like a market rate, I started to get really tired of trying to explain myself. I had a lot of people that were, it was very unfortunate because there were people that are already in my lives that would ask me questions like, like, how did you get to this pricing? Because if they went to a salon, like, that's their justification, was that like if they went to a salon, they would charge them a lot less. And then how come I'm charging them pretty much the same rate as the salon, or sometimes even more? And I think I just got so tired of justifying myself, because in my head, I'm giving you a discount. I'm giving you a discount because you're sitting in a private studio where I serve you snacks and coffee and drinks, and I do a consultation before actually doing anything to your nails. I'm using like proper, like professional products. I'm also not using the same file on you as like 100 other people and giving you, God knows what. And I think I just got really tired of justifying myself and why my prices were the same, the way that they are. So this kind of brings me to the concept of price list. I saw this, I can't remember whose like Instagram, I don't think TikTok was as big back then, but I don't remember whose Instagram I saw it on. And it was just like an infographic. So it was like an infographic that listed out, pricing and all that stuff. And I just thought it was freaking genius, because I could never and I feel like that's the most difficult part about like quoting and like having prices and stuff, is like when people challenge you, like, why are your prices like this? Like, it's so hard for me to like justify myself and be like, well, because you asked for rhinestones, because you asked for an extra long, square tip. It just became so difficult to justify that, because I had no concept of like each thing and what it would cost. So anyway, I made myself this little price sheet. I actually have it printed out here. This is from my last appointment. And this little price sheet is basically what I started to come up with. And I would just put down like, my base prices, my full set designs, per nail add-ons, and other service. And then whenever I had friends or people that I know were like friends of friends, or even sometimes like the cousins that are like a little further away, you kind of forget about their existence until they show up and want something free. Once you start having this list of like prices, you can really get an estimate of like, okay, this is what this appointment is valued at. And if you are a friend, if you are somebody that was recommended, like, more than happy to give you a discount, but it has to be a discount based on these prices. And like, obviously, like, unless you're my mom, the discount kind of caps itself out at like 35% off. We don't go lower than 35% off. And with these prices, I actually adjusted them over time as well. When I first started, I'll give you kind of some examples here. So when I first started, Frenchies were things that took me a very long time to do. And I also needed a lot of help from acetone. Like, I would draw the Frenchie, like, it was just not great. Like, I would draw the Frenchie, and like, the end result was fantastic. It was just the process of getting to that end result took me so freaking long. And like, you can tell on your client's face when they start looking, a little like they don't want to be there anymore. So it was something that was very difficult for me at first. It would just take a long time. So now I charge $25 as a flat rate on, all 10 nails, because, muscle memory gets better and better. But during that time where I just needed so much time, and like, I also felt bad for my clients as well, because they were sitting there, and you can just tell like my little like lines were getting a little squiggly because I'm now getting a little nervous. So I used to charge $5 for all nails, right? And that was the pricing that I would charge as a beginner. But obviously, as time goes on, your skills are going to develop, and your ability and, your muscle memory also develops as well. And that itself is worth something. So over time, I just started to adjust my price. But obviously though, just like any other company, just like anything out there, like if you're going to adjust your price, it shouldn't be like you're adjusting your price today and then you're going to readjust it again 2 weeks down the line. That's kind of unfair, to your clients as well, because like they're expecting to pay a certain amount. So what I do is I would actually adjust my pricing at a maximum twice per year, but most of the time it was just once per year. So if, let's say, just as an example here, back then I might have started at $30, and then like once a year I'd go, okay, last year was $30 and I feel like my sets are getting a little better, my shapes look better, and I'm also more efficient. Then I might, go up to, let's say, $40, $50. But it was like once a year. And it was done in a way where I also let my clients know in advance, like, hey guys, starting January 1st, I am expecting to increase my prices. And so it was kind of like an FYI, like just a heads up, like it's going to go up. It's not like you're going to show up to your appointment today and I'm going to be like, by the way, your price just went up 15% and you had no idea. And so therefore you still came. Like, I feel like that's a pretty shitty move. So yeah, I think, I think this type of model really helped me to break it down into like my base pricing, and then I had like a full set design price, which was like on top. I saw a lot of the comments on our TikTok asking me about how like these pricing work. So you would have your base price, right? So let's say your client wants they want a medium set. So that medium set, I don't care what shape it is. It could be stiletto, it could be round, it could be almond. It doesn't really matter. They're going to have a base price. And for this particular pricing sheet that I'm on right now, that's a $50 charge, right? So everything on top goes from there. From there, then we would do, let's say, an ombre design, and then that was $25. So it would be the $50 plus the $25. So now we're sitting at $75. And then if they want like, per nail, like a different unique design on each particular nail, there was obviously an additional adjustment to it. So let's say they wanted some sort of like, I don't know, like 3D nail art, like they wanted flowers on their ring finger, then, for both ring fingers, that would be $5 each. So I'd add another $10. So now we're sitting at $85. And then also if there were times where, let's just say like your client cheated on you and they go to like a chop shop because they couldn't get a booking with you. And then now you're sitting there going like, okay, great. I'm going to have to do a proper soak off for them, like a foreign soak off. Like I don't know what's on their nail. Like it could be MMA. Who knows? Sometimes it could even be polygel. Like it's really hard to say, right? And so your soak off may not turn into a soak off. It could be like an hour of you just shaving that thing down and your client's getting frustrated and you're getting frustrated. So therefore I'm going to charge that additional, let's say a foreign soak off fee, and then mine is here set at $35. So I think it's just like having this price sheet really helped me to explain myself properly, and then like you don't have people like going like, like why is this price so high? I would literally just break it down, and like before I even start the service, and this is like public, like I listed out on my booking website, but also by the time they sit down in the appointment, like I always start with that consultation, and as I'm going through the consultation talking about what they want, what they need, I literally just check it off, and I have a little like calculator on the side, and I just calculate out for them. I'm like, are you good with these prices? If you guys have ever seen those TikTok videos talking about hair extensions, it's kind of the same thing. Like, where like girls will come into the hair salon and they're like, I would love to have these like beautiful, like up to my butt, like hair extensions. And then like the what is that called? Like the hairstyle is just like, okay, well, that's going to run you about $3,000. Is that something that you're okay with? And then the girls are like, no, that's not okay with. And then they would go, okay, well, what's your max? And they were like, okay, well, let's do like 1,500. So the student's like, okay, well, we can't do it up to your butt, but we can do it, I don't know, to your waist. Is that okay? It's kind of the same concept, like sometimes I'll have clients that come in with these like crazy designs, but then they have a budget cap of $150. So then I'm like, okay, let me work with your prices. I can't, give you single like 3D individual unique art on every single nail, but how about we do it for the ring fingers, for both hands, and then we can do something cute as well and add rhinestones. Just things like that. I think it really helps to show your clients like, where you're getting your prices on, and it doesn't look like you just like made it up. Which I'm sure like a lot of clients, when the first time they go to like an independent nail tech where they're so used to going like the public salons, I even had that situation happen to one of my like friends as well. She challenged the nail tech. She was like, well, I just don't understand where you're getting these prices. Like it's a simple French, and you could just hear like whenever you tell, like when someone tells me like, well, it's just a simple French, like it's like every bone in my body just starts to like flare up, and I just want to just, I don't know. So yeah, I think this is definitely something I recommend trying. I personally really love it. So I'm going to keep this. This is actually available as a free template on our Canva. It is in our link in bio, so definitely check that out. I hope you guys all enjoyed this episode of The Other Side of the Nail Desk. We have a lot more topics and more episodes to come, so stay tuned, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.